Over the past month, I've been playing these new high-tech reeds from D'Addario called Venn. I've been playing them on my alto and on my tenor, and I've been comparing them with the Legere synthetic reeds that I've been playing for the last few years. The real question that I wanted to ask though, because I'll be honest with you, there's some things I really like about the Venn and some things that I'm not so much a fan of. But the question I wanted to ask for you really and for me is, are they actually better than Legere? Well, that's what we're going to be digging into in today's video. So the thing about cane reeds for us sax players is it's probably the most frustrating part about playing saxophone, right? I mean, they're inconsistent, they wear out, they literally change with the weather. You seem to spend all of your time trying to find a good cane reed. And that's the reason why loads of us sax players have started switching over to synthetics. There's some good ones out there, there's some that I don't really like. But if you've been watching my videos for a while on YouTube, or if you're a member of our Sax School membership community, then you'll know that I'm a big fan of Legere reeds. I've been playing them for a long time. But these Venn reeds, they sound really, really great. Are they really, really good? Let's find out. I'm going to start with the positives. Oh, by the way, I forgot to say that although I play Legere reeds now, for like 30 years before that, I pretty much hated every synthetic reed I tried, and I really did try all of them. Because every time I tried a synthetic reed, they always left me feeling a bit dissatisfied. They weren't responsive enough, they were too bright, they just didn't have the sound that got me excited about playing saxophone. But all that changed when I found Legere, particularly their signature reeds. I think they're great. And although they don't look like a real reed, they play fantastic. And most importantly for me, every time I pick up my sax in the studio, they work. They're not changing all the time, they're very, very consistent. But one of the problems with them, of course, is being able to put them on your mouthpiece because you just can't see where they fit on the mouthpiece. Maybe that's just me getting old. But that does bring me to the first thing that I really love about Venn reeds. So at first glance, the Venn actually looks like a real reed. I mean, look at it. It looks like a really perfect reed, but it looks like a real reed. In fact, D'Addario describes the Venn as an advanced synthetic reed constructed of polymer fibers, resin and natural cane elements. All sounds pretty fancy to me, but what it means to us as sax players is you've got something that looks and feels like a real reed. And most importantly, when you put that on your mouthpiece, it's just dead easy to see where it lines up. Maybe it's a small point, but it's a biggie for me. Now, the second thing that I love about the Venn reeds is that you can actually adjust them. So if you use a reed geek or a reed knife, you can work on a Venn reed the same way that you'd work on a normal reed. And this was actually important to me because one of the things I struggled with the Venn reeds was getting the sizing right. I'll tell you a bit more about that in a second. This reed was a bit hard for me on the tenor, so I had to lighten it up a little bit. Now, they've told me at D'Addario that you can't clip the end of a Venn reed, but you can work on the front of the reeds, just like you would with a cane reed. And to be honest with you, it feels and responds the same way that a cane reed would. Now, I think that's a massive positive because synthetic reeds are expensive, right? And you don't always get the reed that's right for you. Legere reeds, we can't adjust them. The Venn, we can. That's a big tick in my book for the Venn reeds. But the sizing was a bit of an issue. I'll get to that in a second. Now, the third thing I really love about the Venn reeds is that they're just a little bit brighter than the Legere reeds. And that's fantastic if you're playing something that's a bit edgier or you need a bit more volume. Like, for example, a David Sanborn, a funky thing, a commercial thing. I quite like the extra raspiness of it. In fact, have a listen to this and see if you can work out which one is the Venn and which one is the Legere. So it's not all good news because there were a few things that I didn't like about the Venn reeds. Here's the first one. Now, I don't know if it's just because I've gotten used to how durable the Legere reeds are, but I actually managed to break one of my Venn reeds. I've chipped it right on the end here. I haven't broken a reed forever, actually. The D'Addario guys were great though. They did send me out a replacement. Thank you, D'Addario, you're wonderful. But I just wonder, are they a little bit more fragile than the Legere reeds? Maybe they're not quite as durable, so you've got to be careful with them like a normal reed. Now, the biggest thing I struggled with the Venn reeds was getting the sizing right. D'Addario were really helpful, and they did give me some advice on which reed would be compatible with what I'm using currently. So I use a 2.5 or 2.75 Legere, but they sent me some size 2s and some 2.5s. Now, I'll be honest with you, the 2.5 Venn, way too hard for me, because I'm using quite a light setup these days. But the size 2, even that was a little bit hard, hence why I had to use my Reed Geek and adjust the reed. So I think the sizing is a little bit confusing, and if you're looking to go and try one of these Venn reeds, then you need to do a bit of digging around before you make a decision on which size is going to be right for you. It's probably going to be a smaller size than what you expect. Now, there's just one other thing that I struggled with the Venn reeds. I mentioned before as a benefit that they are quite bright. But to be honest with you, sometimes I find that they're too bright. For me, when I'm recording videos for sax school, I'm doing a whole range of things from classical to pop to jazz to blues. And sometimes that edginess is just a little bit too hard to control. So for me, I think maybe they're a little bit too bright. And also, I found on the tenor, I struggled to get altissimo notes out really clearly. With the Legere, it just seemed a little bit more solid for me up in the altissimo. Maybe that's because I've been playing the Legeres for a long time, but even over this last month, I've still struggled to get a consistent, good sound up in the altissimo on the Venn reeds, for me, with my mouthpiece. But the brightness is an issue too. Have a listen to this next clip and see if you can work out which one's the Venn and which one's the Legere. Now, just before I reveal which reed was which in those little playing demos, we need to talk about value for money and price. So the Venn reeds are about 27 to 30 pounds or 28 to $30, depending on whether you're going for alto or tenor. And that's just a couple of pounds cheaper than the Legere signatures, which go from about 29 to 32 pounds or $33 to $35. Either way though, they are a lot more expensive than cane reeds. We know that already. I mean, that's way more than you'd pay for a box of 5 select jazz cane reeds, and around about the same as you pay for a whole box of 10 classic Rico reeds. But of course, with synthetic reeds, you're getting a reed that's going to be more consistent and last a lot longer. I mean, to give you an idea, a Legere reed for me will last 3 months of playing them every day, which is amazing. And over the past month of playing the Venn reeds every day, they haven't changed. They've been consistent. They've played the same every single time I've picked them up. Okay, so it's time to reveal which reed was which. Did you get them right? Let's have a listen. So how'd you get on? Were you able to pick the difference between Venn and Legere? You know, I really enjoyed the Venn reeds this month, and to be honest, I'm going to continue playing with them because I do think they're an interesting reed. But for me, I think Legere reeds still kind of fill all of the needs that I have because I'm playing lots of different styles, because of the type of playing that I'm doing and the mouthpieces I'm using. I think Legere suits me better, but I think the Venn are a great option. But if you want to check out the American cut reeds from Legere, here's a video over here where you can go watch next.